So, Zach, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
good
you
to
very
see you.
much. Yeah, you
Uh,
too. It's been a
real,
while.
to kind of introduce yourself, can you just describe, what you do out in Los Angeles and how that came to be, first of all?
Yeah. So we both went to Mizzou, and then I graduated in 2016, May 2016. And then after graduation, I applied to, I want to say like 200 something jobs online, and could not
Spamming.
find any. Yeah, I was surfing online all day trying to apply to stuff. Could not find anything. Never would try to call people, set up. Nothing ever came back. So I guess around shortly right after Christmas. So about 6 months I applied, couldn't find anything, and after Christmas, I decided that I was gonna make the move and just I was like had to do it. Couldn't find anything. Had to do something. So
Did you make
moved
you
out
so
here.
you made the move without having some sort of opportunity locked in?
So I originally didn't, and then 2 weeks before I left, my mom was actually a huge fan of the show Dancing with the Stars, and she was like, "Well, why don't you just look online and see if you can find anything for that show?" And I was like, "Okay, mom, like this is a major show on television." So I went online and I actually found the production manager on Facebook, and I sent him a message, just saying, "Hey, I'm moving to LA in a week. I'm just looking to get some work because I don't have anything right now. All I had was my graduation money that I saved up." So it
Yeah,
wasn't a
which
lot. And
doesn't
then,
last long,
yeah,
especially in
no,
Los
especially,
Angeles, right?
especially here. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
he actually responded and called me the next night, and, he, we hit it off super well. I'm actually great friends with him now. And he was like, "All right, yeah, you start in 2 weeks." And the new season of the show started in 2 weeks. So I started the day before the new season. So I packed all my stuff up, and my dad and I drove out here. He actually was looking at apartments for me while I started working as a PA. So
Gotcha.
he was driving around Los Angeles with a U-Haul trailer looking at
So
apartments for
in the
me.
meantime, were you just like Airbnb-ing it or something like that?
So yeah, since my dad traveled a lot for work, he had a lot of hotel points saved up.
Oh, gotcha.
So we stayed in a hotel for like 4 or 5 nights before we got an apartment. So
Just
I finally got
being
an
like as resourceful as possible,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So so he finally was able to get me we both were able to get an apartment, and then came back, and then I was in a studio apartment for a couple months before my roommate finally moved out here, and we split a studio apartment for about a year and a half. I feel like it was like I jumped into the cliche LA life right away. You hear about those stories of people, struggling, and we split a studio apartment for a year and a half. And then,
Splitting a studio.
yeah, it was,
It's here in New York you're doing that. Like
yeah,
where else in the
I know,
USA are you splitting a studio?
I
And you
know. Yeah,
probably
it
were
was,
still paying like a ridiculous amount compared to what we did
yeah,
at Mizzou.
yeah, here. So it was I think I was paying 4 times, even with the split rent, it was 4 times what I was paying in college with
Yeah.
a full house
Yeah.
in college. So
So,
it was a lot
but like,
different.
were you worried at this time in sense of job stability or
Oh, I was terrified.
income? Yeah,
I was absolutely terrified. Um, that was the main reason why I think it was delayed so long was because I really started thinking after a few months of not finding anything, probably so graduated in May, probably by August, September, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not gonna be able to find anything. It's just, I'm gonna have to, move somewhere. And then it's just
yeah,
something that I was terrified of. And then, yeah, so finally by March, I finally was able to get the courage to actually make the move.
yeah.
And then luckily, so a week before I moved out here, they gave me the PA job on the show, but it was only for 2 days a week. So the
Gotcha.
show aired on Mondays, and they gave me Sundays and Mondays. So Sundays were camera blocking days where they were, making sure all the shots were right and final rehearsal and stuff. And then Monday was the actual show. So I only worked, 2 days a week for the first couple weeks I moved here. And then it was just
Yeah,
it was first you had to make a good impression, and show them that you were, an okay person and then not also a great worker. And then I started asking everyone on the show who I was at least knew their names if they had any work that I could do, any job, any PA job, anything. And then I started slowly, it's always, a guy, that's what it is. I hear, oh yeah, I know a guy. It's just knowing someone.
Right. So,
And
I mean,
then,
like a lot of times people are like, I don't know anyone, but I want to do this. And would you say just part of it is taking the initiative to like position yourself in such a way?
yeah.
Like you were like, all right, hey, I'm moving out here. I have to split a studio apartment, but that's just what I have to do to get like a foot in the door or like to be involved in this world.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just mostly it's risk taking is what it is. And just getting out of because it's getting out of your comfort zone. Cause even like, I'm really comfortable talking around people, but even like when you move out here and you're asking like all these people for like, hey, is there anything that of that, any jobs, any opportunities, and then you have to make like click with that next person. And then that's how it works. You start at the bottom and start slowly working your way up just pretty much through connections and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I moved out here with probably $1,100 to my name. And it was supposed to be just like
I don't even think I had that much.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
if anyone actually listens to this and they're like, like there's no way I can do it, there is a way because we're literally walking proof of it, where it just kind of happened and then we met people. And my gig was actually supposed to be just 10 days and then it turned into full time. So that kind of was an unexpected turn, which ended in me living out here full time.
Yeah, it's great. Like so. Like I said, I started with those 2 days, and for like the first 6 weeks, I ended up working awful jobs, like terrible jobs. My least favorite job I've ever worked was in the first 6 weeks I moved out here. And then one of the, I guess you could say, full-time PAs, he was actually moving out of the city, and he was moving to like San Francisco or something. But I went to a person's house where they were just having like a get together to watch like I think it was like a baseball game or something. And the guy said there that he was moving and all the other PAs were there. And we were with the production manager and stuff. And he was like, if you want, all his hours, all his full time for the rest of the season, it's yours. And I was like,
right.
Yes, thank you. Yes, please.
Which would have never happened if you weren't already involved in it actively.
Yeah. And I mean, when I went there, I knew who the people were, but I wasn't friends with any of them yet. I'd been out here for, just a couple weeks, and it was just, again, it's just taking a risk of like, all right, I need to go and I need to try to meet some people. And I knew like 2 people out here. Like I didn't know anyone in LA. So I was like, okay, it's a great way to meet people and also try to network. So.
Yeah. So now kind of a couple of years later, I guess 3 years later, since you moved out here, what's changed so far? And what are you doing now that kind of in expansion to what you first were doing?
So I guess the biggest thing that's changed is like I said, started as a PA, and from there I was able to work my way up on different shows. So mostly I've been staying in the reality competition area. And the one cool thing I will say that moved out here is it's a lot different than anything I learned in school, because everything in school is mostly like scripted or short films or, screenplays. And I've been able to work my way up in that field. And it's just been, even though it's not what I want to do in the long run, it's been kind of cool to learn about, I guess it's kind of a blessing. I've been able to really branch out in this field of the, entertainment industry. And so, a lot of people will say they want to go in a certain direction in, reality competition, but I've been able to do a couple different areas of it. I've been, I started as a PA, and on one show like Dancing with the Stars, I worked up and I was promoted twice, and I was the, field team equipment manager. So I was getting to be really hands-on with, all the camera packages and a bunch of audio. And, that's been a lot of fun. But then I started working my way in the script department, and that's where I started working more award shows. And I've been, a couple other shows as a script. I started as a script assistant and then worked my way up to a script coordinator. But then also I've been making friends in the talent department. So on other award shows, I've helped with, the talent department. So it's not like I've been limited to, one lane in this. I've been,
Yeah.
some people work their way up, just through script department or just in the talent department, but I've been able to kind of branch out and go to different areas of it, which has been really, kind of cool. And I've also learned a lot from it.
That's awesome. So starting as kind of like a PA with Dancing with the Stars and all of that, what does your day-to-day look like in terms of, were you on set and then you met certain people to put you on completely different jobs is where you expanded, or is it kind of under the same umbrella of like the company?
It's pretty much been through the same people who work for the show, because everyone's freelance. So everyone works multiple television shows in a year, depending on, who, the producers are, or the line producers or production managers. So, when I started as a PA, you have to help out, pretty much every department. And when I say help, it's like, go get these people coffee, but
what a cliche, right?
Yeah, I know. But like with that, you go get somebody coffee, and if you do it well, and like I said, I enjoy talking with people. So it's kind of like, small conversations here and there, kind of build a small relationship with them. And then, on their next show, if they need help, it's like, oh, what about this? What about Zack? Maybe he could help us out. And so that's where I started is, that I did PA work and then, script department and then talent. So it's been a lot of fun. That's
awesome. So what has been your favorite experiences so far in your 3-year career here?
I would say, it's kind of cool to work the award shows. Definitely. I think the coolest thing I've done in the 3 years for sure is working the Oscars twice.
Yeah.
Working the Oscars red carpet show, just because
did you get to meet anyone and you were just completely starstruck and all of that?
Oh yeah. It's really cool because so I worked the red carpet, and the job that's actually in the talent. So you just escort celebrities to certain areas on the carpet if they have a scheduled interview. And it's just kind of, it's honestly, it's weird just seeing them in person, just because you see them.
But they're just they're just real people, not these gods that the media depicts.
Just like, wait, it's just weird to see you in person and not on my television. It's just, but that's
does it kind of break your mental framework though when you get to experience such talent in such a human way though at the same time? Because it's like typically you think of celebrities as these insanely unreachable people, but when you're working side by side with them, you realize that it's an industry. They're really good at their craft. They're really good at what they do, but they're still just regular humans that are creating just like everyone else.
It's cool. At first, I'm not gonna lie, it does take a second to be like, all right, I've seen you in some, but then you actually like get to, interact with them. And it's really a lot of fun because you just get to see how they work. And not even with the celebrities, but also just people working with you. I will say it does take some getting used to, because especially on like when you're on big sets, even like on these sound stages and stuff, like that's something I had never experienced in my life before. I stepped onto a sound stage where there's lights every foot in the ceiling and cameras everywhere. I took it as an opportunity just to kind of learn what people had to say. Cause like when I moved here, I didn't really know anything about, especially the reality industry, but I would just try to, learn as much as possible and learn what people had to say. Like even as me as wanting to direct, I work a lot with, on Dancing with the Stars with field producers, and, they direct like small segments and stuff. And it's just kind of like, sometimes just sitting back and, seeing how they, handle a situation, because they've been doing it, like, even though they're not, on television or on, on the screen you're watching them, they've still been doing it for a long time, and a lot, longer than I have. So I feel like in a way it has definitely opened my mind to learning new aspects of the industry. So,
yeah. So I want to talk about specifically reality production. Can you take me through a day in the life of how a reality TV show is produced?
See, crazy thing is they all are very different, even though they're technically reality. Because what's crazy is some of them are pre-taped, and some of them are live, and some of them have audiences and some of them don't. And it's just the way, I will say, it's a lot, I wouldn't say the word is easier, but it's a lot more relaxed when it's a pre-taped show, because if there's a mistake made on stage, you can cut, you can stop, you can adjust, and then, maybe get the shot again, or you can do, a lot of times they do pickup lines. If it's live, it's a lot more fast paced. You rehearse it, a ton to make sure it's down to perfection, because if millions of people are watching it, it's something that you got to have,
right.
correct to the T, to make sure that there's no mess ups. So, I mean, it's usually when obviously the busiest show, or days of the week, when you on either a pre-taped or a live show, is actual show day, tape day,
Yeah.
because that's when all the talent's on set, everyone is there. You have people from the studios, they're watching the episode. It's very fast paced and it goes by super duper fast, but it
must be pretty exciting to see how the crew works, how the talent works, and how all that comes together.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's crazy for shows like, Dancing with the, I guess for all of them, like Dancing with the Stars, there's so many, like I would say, like the costume department and stuff, especially, and on shows like I work, like The Masked Singer, like the costumes on and wardrobe for those shows is, I mean, those people are working like 24/7. Like it's kind of like, again, it's kind of cool when you're like, you're a PA, you're helping out all departments. So like, if you have to go help something with the wardrobe, you have to go help something just with, the audio guys, you get to see how every department is working on, especially on a show day. And it's so fast paced. And I will say that's probably one of the biggest things I learned differently than like with scripted stuff than what I was used to, is like, on a scripted, even a short film, you could take like an hour and a half just to try to get the setup for one shot, but on a live television show, you just filmed, a 2-hour episode, no mistakes, just, you got it.
It's more of like a live event type of thing. Like you can only prepare so much, but when it all comes down to it, it's just, all right, here it goes.
Yeah, this is all right. Whatever we did, hopefully it happens the same as it did in rehearsal.
Yeah.
It's cool though.
How does the actual production techniques work, especially with reality? I know you said it was a little bit different for every show, but I know you said that each kind of reality show is different than what you've worked on, and you don't have to name the exact names of shows or whatever, but how does the production workflow kind of take place regarding the shows? Is it basically like a fully scripted delivery, or is it like, these are the situations that are going to occur and then part of it is open to interpretation, or are some just completely random in terms of content?
So even though it's classified as unscripted or not scripted, there is a script. It's mostly just though when your hosts, or when they have to read teleprompter, that's essentially what it is. So the only time you're going off script is if the host or a hostess has something to say that they ad lib, or if something happens that's unexpected, maybe somebody falls, or somebody just, I don't know, that's just an example, but something weird will happen, and that'll be unscripted. But for the most part, anytime you see a host looking into the camera, there's a little screen right next, and they're just reading it, and someone just kind of scrolls along with them. And then and even with pre-tape shows, at the end of each show they have lines that they want to do for pickups from either previous episodes that they just want to fill in. So I mean, for the most part, the actual performances, those will pretty much be live, and just see, hopefully it goes as close as it did in rehearsal. But yeah, there is a script, and it does get modified, because they'll run through, execs will run through it, or the director or the host will run through and they say, oh, we want to change this line. So we'll change the line, print out a new script or just a new page and try to distribute the pages. So
right. So the general structure is there. So it's almost like a live show type of thing.
Yeah,
Kind of
pretty much.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there a lot. It is kind of weird that they say, it's a non-scripted show, but there is a script that goes with it, but it's mostly just for the
or
for the host.
Maybe just a prompt. It's not a script.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a prompt show. Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, good stuff. So now that you've kind of had your fair share of this industry and you're obviously making more and more connections, can you speak to like what you want to take from reality and where you want to go with it in the future of your career in terms of like, can you utilize the same connections you have in this industry to kind of further develop yourself more towards what you actually want to do long term?
I mean, I feel like any job you work, whether it's even in the creative industry or not, you can try to take some skills from it, whether it be like, I know it's kind of cliche, but it's like, leadership skills or communication skills. Because I mean, in college I worked at the rec center, but I will say that was like my biggest growth period, even since I moved out to LA, of learning how to talk to people. I've been able to use that here, but yeah, even on shows, in the creative or even in reality shows, I try to take something from each show, whether it be, learning more about the industry or learning just what a director does. And, even if I get to go in the control booth at a show, I try to look, I want to be a director. And so I'll try to go in and see how that director works, even though he's directing an award show and I want to direct scripting. There's still ways that you can always, learn from positions or learn from people and see how they do it and try to apply to it yourself. I think that would be the biggest thing, because I will say it is kind of cool though to see how people take initiative out here. Not everyone, but a lot of people. You have to be driven. That's one major thing that I think you need to take away from all this is everyone moves out here for a reason. It's cool to see people who come out here and try to take initiative from, and even though it's scripted, it's not, they were able to start at the bottom and work their way to the top. One of the set medics, I've worked with him for a few shows. He says he works on the same shows all the time, but he's like, yeah, I saw these people, 10 years ago when they were doing, just coffee runs, and now they're at the top of the, now they're at the top of the food chain rather than the bottom. So yeah, even though I don't want to be in reality competition, it's still a reassuring thing that, even though I'm not there yet, I can still, with some,
you kind of see it on the horizon, right?
Yeah. Like with some drive and, and some more hard work ahead, you can actually get to where you want to be in the creative field, which is nice.
So that kind of leads me to this next question, where it's kind of a personal question. Do you ever feel kind of trapped in your industry? Like you don't know exactly how you're going to expand out and kind of get away from the reality industry?
Yeah, I have gotten there a few times, because it's obviously when you're freelance, it's tough when, you want to make a short film or something, but then someone comes along and says, hey, do you want to work on another show for multiple months and make pretty good money? And, how do you say no to that?
Yeah.
So especially when you're freelance and when you first move out here, it's tough. And so it's been hard trying to find a balance of, working and trying to be creative. So, I was able to do a short last summer, I had to turn, a show down, and I eventually had to say though, I don't want to keep doing this. I want to actually try to get, into scripted and try to start directing a little bit more. So yeah, it's definitely tough. And I wish I would have been able to find that line sooner.
Yeah. I think it kind of comes with experience. Just the little people that I've been talking to during this whole quarantine session, on podcast, things like this. One thing that I've noticed is kind of people that are above me in my industry. I just talked with an awesome director of photography a couple of days ago, and one thing was he basically explained that you have to try to learn how to say no, and at a certain point, when you can only play the cards that you're dealt, you know, whether that's the financial cards, the experience cards, but once you have, you know, a good body of playable cards, then you can kind of pick and choose where you're going to dedicate your energy.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with time, right? I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, when I first moved out here, I was in no position to try to take time off of a job to try to make a short film. Like there was absolutely no way. There was months where I didn't think I was going to make rent, you know, so it was mostly saving, trying to save as much money as you could. And then finally I got to a place financially where I was like, all right, I can finally go make a short film. And now I'm actually in another, even though with quarantine going on, I'm in another, financial place where I'm like, okay, I think I want to try to make my next one. So, I took a year, last summer I made a short film, worked nonstop shows all end of last summer, fall, winter, and spring. And now it's, with quarantine, I'm not, there's not any shows going on, but I know I'm at that point where I say, I want to try to make another short film. So yeah, I definitely agree though with, you can only do as much with the cards you're dealt. So
yeah,
I completely agree with that.
Love that, man. All right. So I know we've been talking just a little bit here, but I kind of wanted to turn it to the advice side of things, where if you were to tell yourself 3 years ago what you know now, what are some just real quick bullet points of the advice that you'd give your past self about pursuing film as a career?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Honestly, I don't have too many like regrets or things I would do differently. I think the biggest thing I would have starting out, I would have tried to make more, I would say try to make more videos or just more short films. I will say one of the biggest things when I moved out here that I learned is, like I said earlier, that a lot of people have initiative, but also there's a lot of people out here who don't. I would have told myself to try to have a little bit more drive to try to, work or just even do things like such as, just writing a short script, just if that's something you want to do, you have to do it. When I first moved here, it was just kind of, I would work long hours and come home and then just kind of make dinner and watch a movie and go to bed. I wish I tried to put myself out there a little bit more, just with trying to get involved more in scripted television. Like I said, I'm proud of how I was able to work my way up in the, this reality field. But I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. That's something that I would say the biggest thing is I wish I would have had a little bit more drive in just trying to get more in the scripted field. But
is it just because of the time, the more amounts of time that you had kind of before you're basically just trying to survive in Los Angeles?
Well, yeah, you're just trying to survive, but then, also it's when you work, it's tough when you work 16 hours a day, or, when you're gone 16 hours a day, the last thing I want to come home and do is, write a couple pages of a script. I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV and relax a little bit. But
right.
Sometimes that's what it takes, is just, coming home and writing. And I think I learned that a little late. With the short film I shot last summer, I was gone, 18 hours a day after we finished filming, and I was, working on another show. And in order to try to get it done, I was working gone 18 hours and then coming home and editing for, whether it even be just like 20 minutes, just getting a shot edited out.
Yeah. How have you gone about recently? Well, I know the whole quarantine thing affected your production hours, right? To say the least,
yeah.
But
yeah, just a little bit.
So maybe right before everything kind of shut down, was there a time where you kind of found a good balance of working on your side projects? Or is it kind of like all in on TV shows and until you can kind of have a breath of air, and then, you know, you take a week or 2 weeks to really focus on it. How did you find that balance if you had it?
It started out last summer, it was rough because it was mostly, it was straight rollovers into new shows. I'd finish one show and I would get one day off and then I would start a new show, or it was short turnaround. And then, and also it depends on the show. Sometimes you're just going 110 miles an hour, all day, and there's no slowdown whatsoever. So I was able to find, I think, a good balance, probably this spring where, I was a little lucky where it was a job where I didn't have to, it wasn't go all day. So I was able to kind of, write and find a good balance, and, trying to write, just scripts or something. But it wasn't until probably, this spring where I was able to find, because it's still something I'm still working on, even right now during quarantine, I'm trying to find, how long of the day should I, be writing, or how long of the day should I just be messing around with video stuff? It's something I'll always probably try to work on. But I'm definitely glad I did get to find a little bit of, I was able to draw a little bit of a line of how much I was, working on separate projects rather than work, because, I was finally working jobs where it wasn't, I had to, like I said, go all the time. But
yeah, I think that's totally a valid point with all creators, is like, you kind of have to own up to your responsibilities, but you have to take at least a little bit of time to do your own stuff, or else you're not going to be happy. And if you're not, if you're not like feeding that, then that part of your craft isn't excelling, when sometimes like that's the most important thing. Obviously you want to pay rent and pay groceries, but at the same time, you kind of have to feed the soul as well.
Oh yeah. And it's, and you want to do, like I said, I still want to do a good job at my job. It's like, you work, a lot of these people, like I said earlier, it's who you know. So you don't want to mess up, what job you're working now. You want to be asked to work on the next show, but also, you have to find time where you can, and you have to be willing to, sacrifice a little bit of time. Maybe instead of going, to someplace in Hollywood, you just stay at home and you write a couple pages, just something like you always have to, for me, I have to get that creative itch going,
Exactly.
If I have something in my head, I want to try to write it down as quickly as possible and try to, write something out about it. But,
yeah. To your point, there have been plenty of nights where the whole squad's going out to party or something like that and have a good time. And sometimes I've just, just been like, hey, I'm really focused right now, and I cannot leave this seat,
Oh,
so, yeah, I think it's,
and plus
always a balance.
I can't even do that anymore. It's like going out. It's like, I'd rather sit at home and
you're only like 20. You're only like 26, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it's not for me anymore, man.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people right now are saying they miss all that, going out, and I'm like,
I'm kind of on your side, and I'm only 24 right now, but it's coming for all of us. Eventually too, especially in Los Angeles, it just gets so expensive too. Like, you go out one night, your Uber rides are like 40 each way, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is not a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not cheap at all. Yeah. But it is what it is. That's what we moved out here knowing that, I guess, right?
It was a conscious choice. Yeah, kind of on us, right? Good stuff, man. All right, we'll wrap up this podcast. I want to just thank you for your time and all of your insights.
No, thank you.
I think we got like a really good glimpse inside your world, and what you've been able to do in the reality field, and just surviving as a young 20-year-old in the most dangerous in the most dangerous city of them all.
Yeah, jungle. I think it's thanks for having me on, and I think it's really cool. I've been able to watch and listen to a couple of people you talk to and stuff, and it's kind of cool when you hear from people from like the Midwest moving out here. Everyone. Yeah.
I've yet to have. I think I'll have a LA local coming on soon, but I realized that most of my friends are just all people from not LA, just a city of transplants. But
it is kind of cool though, because everyone has their own, story and their own way of making it into the industry, and and a lot of us are, almost everyone that I know is still, they're not even at their end goal. So I actually quarantine has me thinking a lot, and so a lot of that's been, where is everyone going to be in 10 years? Like, is anyone going to be where they want? Like, who's going to be in LA? Who's not going to
Yeah.
be in LA? That kind of thing.
Who's going to give up too, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh wait,
Yeah.
it could be me. No.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I'm pretty happy with whatever happens. I just think that, the more you focus your energy into the experiences that you love, and as long as you're growing, that's the right direction. And kind of everything else you can't really control. Like, you just have to continually, put the Lego pieces one on top of another.
I mean, yeah, I will say, even though I haven't been able to, get into the scripted world as much as I have liked, I will say it's kind of reassuring knowing that I'm definitely in the right field. I've never really questioned that, which has been definitely reassuring.
Do you get these weird moments happen to me when maybe I went on a 14-hour shoot and my body is beaten up from moving like C-stands all day or something like that, and you're just tired and you want to go home, but when you get home and you're like sitting there just staring at like the ceiling and you're just like, yeah, that was awesome. I don't even care. Like, that was so much fun.
Really,
you know what I mean?
It's definitely cool. And I've definitely been blessed getting to work like big shows, because at the end of the day, like I think about what I did, it's exhausting, but we shot, a huge package for Dancing with the Stars or something. And at the end of the day, you're like, all right, it's pretty cool. Like, there's definitely worse things that I could be. Yeah, there's definitely worse things I could be doing.
Yeah, good stuff, man.